Colston Loveland having himself a week. The week so good, he was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. That's got to feel good, right, Speaks?
Seriously, once Mitch Rosen tells you congratulations,
then you've been told.
Yeah. That's got to feel good, Lawrence. I mean, Colston Loveland, you're a kid. You had your breakout game, and you had that. Colston Loveland, just the third Bears rookie to receive that award. And the Offensive Player of the Week. Jordan Howard in 2016 and Anthony Thomas in 2001. That's pretty cool. And Loveland, the first rookie tight end across the NFL to get that award since Jeremy Shockey in 2002 in Week 17. So good for that young man, who I'm sure had to be, at least hearing. I don't know whether he was feeling anything, but I'm sure he was hearing from some people or noticing himself that he was not the most productive tight end in his rookie class. And then bing, bang, boom, he has a week like that.
I remain a giant, and you, Jeremy Shockey. Shout out to Wale. I'm looking at the statistics right now because people were like, man, this Tyler Warren. Look, even in the discussion, Speaks, and we went back and forth on this the week of the draft, like talking about this. And I remember being like, hey, I went to go watch the tape because someone was like, you should go watch the tape on Colston Loveland. I was like, why should I do that when they're going to draft a tackle, when they're going to draft a Kelvin Banks, and if they are going to draft a tight end, they're going to draft Tyler Warren. And it was like, no, you should probably go watch the tape on Colston Loveland. So I did.
Yeah, you had a little something, and you came in and we talked about it because I was very hardcore Tyler Warren among tight ends because I saw Tyler Warren as like a Brock Bowers type, some kind of physical freak who might be one of the few guys of that stature and speed combo in the NFL, a weapon I got excited about.
I think both of these guys are going to have really good careers, and I felt that way on draft night. I understood the difference between them, though, where not that Tyler Warren can't, in specific matchups, find himself outside, but he's a player that I think is kind of a souped-up version of the traditional tight end. He is going to work in between the hash. He can do some stuff for you in the running game because he can take snaps. Like there's a lot that he can do. He's a good football player. But I understood when looking at Laporta at the Lions and going, that's an interesting thing to do, to go and get a tight end at that spot. And you can have an argument with that as an approach. Like, I understand it. But I do think to make Ben Johnson's offense look the way that he wants it to look, you need someone like Colston Loveland. And what did yesterday when we were talking with Matt, he was like, look at how many times he lined up at X. Like that type of the fact that they can use him in that way is kind of amazing. So look, the numbers real quick. Colston Loveland has only 17 catches, 234 yards. The bulk of it was against the Bengals last week, 2 touchdowns, and he's averaging almost 14 yards a carry. Tyler Warren's having an excellent year. He's already got 42 catches for 518 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he's averaging 12.3 yards a reception. Both these guys, I think, are going to be pretty good.
I think you're right. And look, as much as I wanted Tyler Warren, I was not really tempted to come in here and try to spike any sort of conversational football about Tyler Warren versus Colston Loveland in advance of the game last week. Like, I had the feeling every once in a while, and I would say it with like a little emphasis or whatever, but we know football enough to know at the very, very least, Lawrence, you're going to compare 2 targets production numbers through 8 weeks. It really is about the quarterback and the system and the offensive line and the context. Like, it's not fair to just look at numbers. But you'd see a Tyler Warren highlight and it'd be like, oh, man, well, come on. But still, we know football enough. It is so dependent. You are so dependent on so many other things that it like I wasn't in a spot where I was like, man, what did they do? What did they do? And you're right about what Colston Loveland does for Ben Johnson's offense. And that's what eventually convinced me was the conversations that you and I had, and then conversations that I had with people close to Ben Johnson who were telling me, like, it's basically that he needs a guy like that to run his offense. He just needs that dude. He needs that dude so he can do various different things, whether Loveland is lined up at tight end, where he's the first tight end or the other tight end, or whether he lines him up outside. Like Bowen was talking about, and like our guy Alex Kuhn mentioned on Monday, how many times Colston Loveland was not in a traditional tight end spot in this offense. And then we connect that with what we learned from the Brad Biggs piece about how Colston got bumped up to the number 1 option or the number 2 option. So the young quarterback who's learning to look through his reads was able to target a weapon like Loveland a bit more often on Sunday, and you saw what the results were.
He's someone that creates really good matchups for you. And because of that, and because of the other guys that you have on the roster, it allows for some things to pop off with your offense. Now, my criticism of him so far has been that I don't feel like he's run great routes. There have been times where I felt like he hasn't been on time and synced up with Caleb, but we have to give him some grace too, to first come back from injury, second for him to have a learning curve and see how different it is in the NFL versus what he was doing in the Big Ten.
For sure. And look, I got no complaints about Colston Loveland in terms of his perceived progress. And that was probably even true, before the production ramped up, because again, it's just so dependent. But watching him run on that touchdown, watching him bounce off of both safeties, and then have the wherewithal to realize I'm in trouble if I get tackled. If I run here and I go down, he said it in postgame, if I go down at like the 6 with 10 seconds left,
everyone's got to catch up to you. They got to run everyone onto the field. It's a nightmare.
They got to spike it, right? And like all of that, and the game might peter out with you lying on the ground or scrambling towards the line of scrimmage, but he had the confidence and knowledge of his speed, and so did the rest of the team. And hell, man, watching him run at full speed after getting battered twice, he was lumbering, but lumbering fast, in that way that's fun to watch tight ends run. It's fun to watch dudes that big run that fast. I feel good about it. I think you got to, after seeing that, and I love, man, you know me, like, I think the coach just knows what the hell he's doing. And now he's got a weapon, a malleable weapon like that he can line him up outside. He can move him up on the options and make sure that the quarterback uses him. It's a great weapon for Ben, and that's why I wanted him.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that's something that's that in this game you got to see it play out the way that Ben envisions it playing out. And you needed everyone that you could throw out there to win that game. You needed the guy that you drafted in the 7th round. You needed the guy that you drafted in the 1st round. You needed the quarterback that you inherited. You needed everything to get as many points as they did.
Look, if push comes to shove between Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, Colston Loveland is the more special of the two in terms of skill set and possibilities. Cole Kmet is an excellent tight end. But Colston Loveland is a guy that you line up out wide in a lineup that has the speed and hopefully the route running to do a little bit more, while Cole is a better blocker, certainly at this point.
But I think there's
a spot for both of them, right?
100%. And I think that there is room for Loveland to be a good blocker. And I think that he's had some moments so far. Usually it's him cracking, but even in some of the wide zone stuff, I've seen Colston Loveland do more than I was expecting him to do.